everyone, and welcome to my channel, It's Daisy. So today I'm going to show you how to arm knit this infinity scarf. So this is my favorite scarf because you can customize the length, the width, and the color so it turns out exactly how you want it to. It's also really quick. It takes me about 20 to 30 minutes to make one scarf, and it's also really simple after you get the hang of it. I'd also like to thank you for over 10,000 subscribers. It's so cool that all of you watch my videos and you like them. I love getting comments about the pattern and how it really helps them. So thank you so much. So anyways, let's get into the video. For this project, you will need yarn and scissors. So I'll be using this Lion brand yarn that is in kind of a maroon color. And this yarn is a lot different from any other yarn that I typically use. It is an 80% acrylic yarn and a 20% wool yarn, whereas I usually use 100% acrylic. And it's also super bulky because it's very thick strands, and you need to make sure that you have super bulky and that you have two of them because we're going to be working with both of them at the same time. So today we're going to learn how to arm knit a scarf. Arm knitting is exactly how it sounds. It's knitting, but instead of using two needles to knit, you're going to be using your arms as the needles. And so there are two main parts to arm knitting. There's casting on your stitches, which is basically putting these stitches onto your arm so you can start knitting. And then there's knitting, which is the process of transferring the stitches from one arm to the other. And when you're doing this, it adds length to it and therefore makes the long scarves. So when you're casting on your stitches, you need to think about the number because that will determine the width of your scarf. So I have two different scarves here. I have 6 stitches cast on and 9 stitches cast on. So this one is about 5.5 inches when it's spread out like this. When you crumple it up, it's about 2.5. And then this one is 9 stitches and it is about 9 inches when it's spread out like this. And then when you crumple it up, it's about 3 inches. So when you're casting on, you need to think about how thick you like your scarf or how wide you want it to be for when you're using it. So then you can adjust the number to your personal preference. I also made these scarves at different times. This one I made a long time ago and this one I made more recently. So since I made it more recently, it's a little wider because my hands have recently been in through those holes. And this one, they have kind of scrunched together. So that's another thing to think about. When it has been a long time since you made it, it is going to consolidate together and come closer together, and it'll also get longer, whereas something you've made more recently will be a little looser like this, whereas this one will be tighter. So I've already started by taking out the labels on both of the balls of yarn, and then I've already unraveled a little bit of it to give me some slack while I'm working with it. And so when I was unraveling, I unraveled from the outside as opposed to pulling a string from the inside because I prefer unraveling from the outside for this project. So you can set these aside, and so we're going to work with the two ends. But before we start, you need to make sure that there's nothing on your wrist that might get in the way of when we're arm knitting, because there's going to be yarn all over each of your arms. So we need to cast on, and to do this, you're going to put the two strands together and make sure that they're equal in length, and then measure 2 arm lengths. So you grab the end and pull until your arm is straight, and then you grab again and pull until your arm is straight. Then you make a slip knot. So you're going to make a figure 8 like this, and with one hand in one of the loops, you're going to grab the yarn that's on the bottom. So this one's on the bottom, so we grab that, which will make a loop, and you're going to put that hand through the loop. Then you tighten it. So now we need to cast on. And so before we do that, this is the working yarn. It's attached to each of the balls of yarn. And then this is the tail, and it's not attached to anything, it's just the end. So when we're doing this, you're going to put the 2 strands over your pinky and ring finger and grab them. Then with your pointer finger and thumb, you're going to go in between those 2 strands. So on one side, you're going to have the working yarn, and on the other will be the tail. It doesn't matter which side it's on, but it needs to be both strands connected to the yarn or both that are the tail. Because if you have one of each, then it's going to look really weird when you're done with it, and it's not going to work. And I've done that before, and it's not a good idea. So basically, the 2 strands that are connected to the yarn on one side and the 2 that are the tail on the other. So you put them in between, and then you widen your fingers, then rotate upwards, which will kind of create a slingshot like you're pulling back. Then you have 3 strands of yarn. So you have 1, 2, and 3. You're going to go under strand 1, over this strand 2 right here, over it to grab strand 3, and then once you have it, you can let go, and then you're going to put your hand through that loop and then tighten the yarn. So you're going to do it again. Grab them with your pointer finger and thumb, go in between to widen, rotate upwards to create your slingshot. Then you have strands 1, 2, and 3. So you go under strand 1, over this strand 2 to grab strand 3. Then let go and put the loop over your hand. So we have 3 stitches. We have the first one, which was our slip stitch, and then we cast on these 2 stitches. Each stitch is made up of 2 strands of yarn because we have those 2 balls of yarn. So we're going to keep going until we have 8. So grab, pointer finger and thumb together, then separate those 2 strands, widen, rotate up to create your slingshot. Then you have strand 1, 2, and 3. Under strand 1, over strand 2 to grab strand 3 and pull through. Let go with your left hand, put your hand through that loop that it makes. So now we have 4, grab, pointer finger and thumb, separate those 2 strands, rotate upwards, under 1, over the second strand right here, grab strand 3, let go, put your hand through that loop. So now we have 5 stitches. Grab, pointer finger and thumb, make your slingshot, under 1, over 2 to grab 3. So now we have 6, 2 more. So make your slingshot, under 1, over 2 to grab 3. 7, grab, make your slingshot, under 1, over 2, and grab 3. So now we have 8 stitches. And so this is a little too tight. You could probably make it a little looser, which will help you get the stitches on and off. But if this works for you, then you can do that. So now you have the working yarn attached to the balls of yarn and the tail. So you're going to leave the tail alone, and we're not going to be working with that. So what you're going to do is with the hand that has all the stitches on it, which is my right hand, you're going to grab both strands of the working yarn, and then you have all of these stitches. You're going to grab the first stitch, and remember, it's those 2 strands. So you're going to grab it with your left hand while still holding the working yarn with your right, pull the stitch over your hand, don't let go of this one, and then this makes a loop. You're going to put the loop over your left hand, and then you can pull the working yarn to tighten it. So now we just transferred 1 stitch over to the other hand. So next, you keep grabbing the working yarn with the hand that you're transferring the stitches from. So you grab, pull the next stitch over your hand, and then you can let go of that while still grabbing onto that working yarn and put your hand through that loop. So grab the working yarn, pull the next stitch over that hand while still holding the working yarn, then put the loop over your other hand. Grab, pull, and then transfer the loop. 3 steps. Grab the working yarn, pull the next stitch, transfer this loop over to the other hand. Grab, pull that next stitch over, and transfer the loop. So you're grabbing it, pull it over, and then you never want to let go of this working yarn. And so when you're doing this, you can put it on like this, or you can twist it like this, but I just prefer doing it straight across like this. It makes it a lot less complicated. So now we're at the last stitch. So you grab, pull over your hand and put the working yarn loop over the other hand. So now we've done our first row. So we're going to keep going until you have the desired length. So it's the same exact thing. You grab the working yarn with your left hand, then you pull that next stitch over your hand, and then put your other hand through the loop that it makes, and then tighten. And so if you ever need to let go and forget which arm you're transferring onto or off of, the working yarn will always be closest to the hand you're transferring it to. So it's really close to my right hand, so that means that I'm transferring the stitches from my left to my right. So with your left hand, you're going to grab the working yarn, pull the stitch over your hand, put your other hand through that loop, and then tighten. It's a really simple process, so after a while you're going to get really used to it, and it'll become really easy after you do a couple of rows. So you're just going to keep doing these steps until you have the desired length that you would like. So I'm going to keep going until I have the length that I want. So again, grab, pull, and transfer your stitches. Once you've decided that you're satisfied with the length that it is, so I've done about 4 feet of the scarf, then you're going to do one final row to finish it off. So you're going to start the row normally. So you grab, pull the next stitch over, and put your hand through that loop, and then tighten. And you're going to do another normal stitch. Grab, pull the next stitch over, and transfer it onto the other hand. Then what you're going to do is you're going to take the stitch that is closest to you up and over that other stitch, and then let it go. Then you're just going to tighten it a little bit, and then you're going to do the same thing. So you grab and pull and transfer the next stitch, so then you get 2 stitches over here. Then you pull the stitch closest to you up and over your hand. So again, grab, pull, and transfer, doing a normal stitch, and then pull the string closest to you over that other stitch, and then tighten. Make sure you don't tighten too much, because then it won't line up with the other end of the scarf that we've done, and that will make sense later. So do another one, pull the string over, and then tighten a little bit. Then you just get a little slack, and do another one. So you're just going to continue this. Pull the next string over, and then tighten a little bit. So a normal stitch until you have 2 stitches, pull the one closest over your hand. Normal stitch, over, flat stitch over. And so for this last one, what you're going to do is you're just going to grab the working yarn and then pull the stitch over, so you have this, and then you're just going to cut it. And you just want to make sure that you have a long tail, because you're going to be using this to sew it to the other end if you're making an infinity scarf. So you just get a long tail, cut, and you can pull it through. And then it will make a knot. So then what we need to do is we need to attach it to the other end for an infinity scarf. So now I've just lined up both of the ends of the infinity scarf so that the scarf is not twisted, and when I attach it, it'll be straight. So I just took one of those tails and weaved it in through both of the ends of the infinity scarf, and once I have done that so that it's attached, I'm going to weave in those tails and then knot it and cut off. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to my channel down below. And thank you so much. I hope that you liked this video and that you like the scarf as much as I do. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!